If you feel this heaviness again and again, it is not random. It is not bad luck. It is not because you are failing. It is because you are repeating the same internal position. You wake up and things look familiar, not comfortable, just familiar. The same emotions show up in different situations. The same patterns wear different faces. You try to stay positive. You try to move forward. You try to think differently. But something keeps pulling you back to the same feeling. That feeling is the signal. It is telling you that the timeline has not changed. Only the scenery has. Most people think being stuck means nothing is happening. That is not true. A lot is happening. It is just happening in a loop. The same thoughts trigger the same reactions. The same reactions lead to the same choices. The same choices recreate the same results. And when the results show up again, you call it fate. You call it destiny. You call it a lesson you cannot escape. But it is not destiny. It is familiarity. You are not stuck because you are lazy. You are not stuck because you lack motivation. And you are not stuck because you do not know what you want. You are stuck because the version of you that is trying to change things is the same version that created the current reality. That version feels safe in what it already knows, even if what it knows hurts. Even if what it knows feels limiting. Familiar pain feels safer than unknown peace. When you stay in the same timeline, your body knows it before your mind does. You feel tired without doing much. You feel drained even on good days. You feel like you are always almost there but never fully arriving. That is because growth requires a different internal stance. And right now your system is holding the old one. Manifestation does not respond to effort alone. It responds to identity. You can repeat affirmations all day. You can visualize every night. You can plan every step perfectly. But if the observer stays the same, the outcome stays the same. Reality does not move when you demand it to move. It moves when the one watching it changes position. Think about how often you check to see if things are working. That constant checking is not awareness. It is control. It is fear trying to sound responsible. Every time you ask, "Is this working?" you place yourself back into the identity that believes something is missing, and that identity can only create more proof that something is missing. This is why the same lessons repeat. Not because you did not learn them intellectually, but because you did not release the internal role that needed them. A timeline ends when the role ends, not when the desire changes. If you feel like life keeps circling back to the same emotional place, this is not punishment. It is feedback. It is showing you that growth is asking for a deeper shift. Not more effort, not more pressure. A different way of being. And until that shift happens, the loop stays active. The moment you start to loosen control, everything inside you reacts, not because something is wrong, but because control was your safety net. It helped you predict. It helped you prepare. It helped you survive earlier versions of your life. But what once protected you is now limiting you. Control keeps you in the same timeline because it keeps you in the same nervous system state. Always alert, always scanning, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. When your body lives there, your mind cannot imagine freely. It only repeats what it already knows. That is why change feels exhausting instead of exciting. Letting go does not mean doing nothing. It means stopping the internal micromanagement. It means allowing space for things to organize without you forcing the outcome. This feels uncomfortable at first. Silence feels strange. Stillness feels suspicious. Your mind will try to pull you back into old habits by creating urgency. Do not rush to answer it. Real growth starts when you stop needing proof before peace. When you stop asking for certainty before moving. When you allow clarity to arrive after alignment instead of before. This is where intention replaces control. Intention is quiet. It does not argue with reality. It sets a direction and stays open. Control demands a specific path and panics when it does not appear immediately. One expands possibility, the other compresses it. When you shift into intention, your decisions feel different. You stop over-explaining them. You stop needing approval. You move because something feels right instead of because something feels urgent. That is how timelines begin to loosen. Manifestation becomes simpler here, not easier, simpler. You stop trying to bend reality. You start matching it. You focus on who you are being instead of what you are forcing, and reality responds naturally. You may notice resistance during this phase. Old fears may surface. Doubt may get louder. This does not mean you are regressing. It means an old identity is losing relevance. The part of you that survived by controlling everything is stepping aside. That part will not leave quietly. Thank it, but do not let it lead. Personal growth here looks less dramatic than you expected. It looks like fewer reactions. It looks like calmer responses. It looks like choosing rest without guilt. It looks like saying no without explaining. It looks like not chasing what used to trigger you. These are signs of a timeline shift already happening. The mistake most people make is going back to old patterns the moment things feel quiet. They assume nothing is happening. But quiet is where reorganization begins. Do not interrupt it. A timeline does not change in a single moment. It changes in layers, first internally, then emotionally, then behaviorally, then externally. If you wait for the outside to change before you change inside, you will wait forever. You are not meant to fight your way into a new reality. You are meant to relax into it. When the internal conditions that sustained the old pattern dissolve, the pattern cannot continue. It loses momentum. It fades without drama. This is where motivation is replaced by coherence. You no longer need to push yourself constantly. You move because resistance is gone. Life feels lighter not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer dragging the past forward. Manifestation at this level is not about asking for more. It is about allowing what already aligns to arrive. You stop chasing signs. You stop checking results. You trust the shift because you can feel it in how you respond to life. If you feel like you are between versions of yourself right now, that is okay. The old timeline no longer fits. The new one is still forming. This space is not empty, it is active. Let it be. Growth does not always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like loss. You may grieve old identities, old dreams, old ways of coping. Let them go. They did their job. The moment you stop feeding the old timeline with fear and control, it cannot survive. Something else takes its place. Calm, presence, clarity. These are not rewards, they are signals. If this resonates, it is because you are already shifting, not because you are trying harder, but because you are letting go of what kept you stuck. Stay with that. Do not rush it. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not missing anything. You are simply learning how to stand in a different internal position. And from there, reality has no choice but to respond. At some point, you realize you are no longer trying to escape your life. You are living inside it differently. The problems did not vanish overnight, but your relationship to them changed, and that changes everything. This is where real personal growth settles in, not as excitement, not as motivation, but as steadiness. You stop swinging between hope and disappointment. You stop reading signs into everything. You trust your inner state more than external noise. Manifestation here is no longer about getting. It is about allowing. You notice that when you stop needing something, it finds its way to you naturally, not always in the form you imagined, but in the form that fits who you are now. You begin to understand that forcing was never strength, holding on was never stability. The strength was in your ability to stay present without controlling the outcome. The stability was always internal. There is a calm confidence that grows here. You do not announce it, you do not prove it. You simply move through life with less resistance. Conversations feel easier, choices feel clearer. You are not second-guessing yourself the way you used to. Old patterns may still knock at the door. Old habits may try to pull you back, but now you recognize them, and recognition is power. You do not need to fight them, you simply do not follow them anymore. This is how a new timeline holds, not through constant focus, but through consistency of being. You return to presence again and again. You choose alignment over urgency. You choose clarity over fear. Motivation no longer comes from pressure, it comes from inspiration. You act because something feels right, not because you are afraid of falling behind. That fear belonged to the old version of you. If you look back now, you may see how much energy you used to spend managing outcomes, worrying, planning, adjusting, trying. That energy is now free, and it begins to move into creativity, into expression, into growth that feels natural instead of forced. This is where life starts meeting you halfway. Opportunities appear without struggle. People respond differently to you, not because they changed, but because you did. You stop chasing confirmation. You trust your experience. You trust your timing. You trust that what is meant for you does not require exhaustion to reach. If you are here now, this is not the beginning. It is the continuation of a shift already in motion. Keep honoring the internal space you have created. Keep choosing presence. Keep allowing clarity to lead. This is how you stay out of the old loop. This is how the new timeline stabilizes, not through force, but through becoming someone who no longer needs it. Eventually, you stop asking when things will change, not because you gave up, but because the question no longer matters. You are no longer waiting for life to begin. You are already inside it. This is the moment most people miss. They think the shift failed because there is no dramatic reward, but the real reward is internal freedom. You are no longer measuring yourself against timelines. You are no longer racing invisible clocks. You notice how calm feels normal now, not exciting, not dull, just steady. That steadiness is power. It means your system is no longer dependent on chaos to feel alive. Manifestation here feels almost boring compared to before. You think something. You take a simple step, and things respond without friction. There is no obsession, no constant checking, no emotional spikes. This is alignment doing the work quietly. Personal growth at this level looks like trust in yourself. You do not abandon yourself when things feel uncertain. You stay present, you stay grounded. You do not rush to fix feelings, you let them move through. You also stop explaining yourself as much. You do not need everyone to understand your choices. You do not need validation to keep going. Your direction feels clear enough internally. This is where the old timeline finally loses access to you. Not because it disappeared, but because you stopped responding to it. Patterns only survive through participation, and you are no longer available for the same roles. Motivation becomes simple. You do what feels aligned today, not to secure tomorrow, not to prove anything, just because it feels right now. That presence keeps you flexible, and flexibility is what allows reality to keep opening. You may still have goals, you may still want more, but the wanting is softer. It does not come from lack. It comes from curiosity, from expansion, from interest instead of urgency. If fear shows up occasionally, you meet it with awareness. Not control, not suppression. You know it is just an old echo, and echoes fade when you do not answer them. This is how the shift completes itself, quietly, naturally, without effort. You do not chase a new timeline anymore. You live from a different internal place. And reality follows that lead. If you feel settled without knowing why, trust that. If you feel clear without forcing it, stay with that. This is not the end. It is stability. And from here, life keeps unfolding in ways that no longer require you to struggle to receive.